Hello and welcome to this video on the Linux kernel. The Linux kernel is the core of the Linux operating system, which is widely used in servers, desktops, and mobile devices. In this video, we will cover the following topics. What is the Linux kernel? The history of Linux kernel. How the Linux kernel works. The different versions of the Linux kernel. The role of the Linux kernel in the Linux operating system. First, let's define what the Linux kernel is. The Linux kernel is the central component of the Linux operating system. It is responsible for managing the hardware and software resources of the computer. The Linux kernel is a monolithic kernel, meaning it contains all the necessary components to run the system, including device drivers, file systems, and system call interfaces. The Linux kernel was first released in 1991 by Linus Torvalds, a student at the University of Helsinki. Linus was frustrated with the limitations of the existing operating systems at the time, so he decided to create his own. The Linux kernel was released as open-source software, meaning anyone could use and modify it for free. This led to the development of many different versions of the Linux operating system, known as distributions. Now, let's talk about how the Linux kernel works. The Linux kernel communicates with the hardware of the computer through system calls. System calls are a way for the kernel to request services from the hardware, such as reading or writing to a file. The kernel also manages the scheduling of processes, which are the programs running on the computer. It allocates resources, such as memory and CPU time, to each process to ensure that the system runs efficiently. There are different versions of the Linux kernel, which are released periodically. The latest stable version at the time of this recording is 5.11. The version number is incremented with each release, and each version includes new features and bug fixes. The Linux kernel is maintained by a large community of developers from around the world, and new releases are made available to the public as soon as they are ready. Finally, let's discuss the role of the Linux kernel in the Linux operating system. The Linux kernel is the foundation of the Linux operating system and provides the basic functionality needed to run the system. It communicates with the hardware, manages resources, and provides a stable and secure environment for running applications. Without the Linux kernel, the Linux operating system would not be able to function. Thank you for watching this video on the Linux kernel. If you like this video, please give a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel. I hope you have a better understanding of what it is and how it works. If you have further questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below.